Zhang Yi adjusted his collar and replied, I don't want to reach this point. It's all you're doing. In fact, in the past, I have a dream, which was on the day of the apocalypse. Seeing Zhang Yi standing there talking nonsense, Lang Feng angrily shouted, Stop! Don't talk nonsense anymore, okay? Delaying time is pointless. It won't change your outcome. Zhang Yi sighed and continued, All right, then I hope you keep your promise. If I die, spare my friends. They are all innocent. Lang Feng sneered, I can assure you that I won't harm them. Zhang Yi shifted to talking about his cat. And my cat, don't eat it, just let it go. Maybe my friends will take care of it. Lang Feng, furious, gritted his teeth. You've been rambling for half a day. Are you an old lady talking so much? If you want to fight, then let's fight. After saying that, Lang Feng clenched his fists and charged at Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi also began to accelerate 4 times faster, rushing towards his opponent. When he was quite close, Zhang Yi used his spatial superpower, raising his hand to open the space warehouse to retrieve something. Lang Feng naively thought, Do you really think this trick will work on me? I already know your attacking methods. As long as I'm faster than this superpower, change direction, I can fiercely land a blow right to your heart. But he had no idea that Zhang Yi took out a huge container truck from the spatial storage. Lang Feng jumped in surprise. What? His superpower can also teleport objects. Zhang Yi confidently told Lang Feng, This is just the beginning. Immediately afterward, various types of trucks, dump trucks, cars, and many other things appeared simultaneously. Zhang Yi thought to himself, These are all toys I've collected in my spare time. I was waiting for the right opportunity to take them out. Now is the perfect time to use them to smash someone. Under Zhang Yi's control, the vehicles charged straight toward Lang Feng. The situation became dangerous. Lang Feng began to think of a different attack plan. I can't avoid this density. I can only attack head-on. Thinking that, he swung his sword and struck the car in front of him, cutting it in half. Seeing this, Zhang Yi gave his opponent a sarcastic compliment. Nice sword, let's continue. Then, Zhang Yi started to release more toys, all speeding toward Lang Feng at high speed. Lang Feng moved and dodged while shouting, Ridiculous. Do you think these things can harm me? Zhang Yi knew how to exhaust Lang Feng and continued to throw another big vehicle. If that's the case, why do you have to avoid it? Lang Feng sliced the vehicle in half, moving closer to Zhang Yi. The distance between him and Zhang Yi grew smaller. He yelled, I believe you'll eventually have to stop throwing these things. Though he said that, Lang Feng was filled with many thoughts. I need to fight in close combat. As long as I get within 3 meters of you, I can end your life in an instant. While he was thinking, Zhang Yi pulled out a pile of underwear and threw it at him. A purple beret wrapped around Lang Feng's head. He angrily muttered, Is he using this to buy time? How shameless. Before he could remove the purple bra, a blue piece of underwear slapped right into his face. Lang Feng was furious, tearing it apart. I don't believe you could keep throwing forever. Before Lang Feng could rush in, Zhang Yi had already pulled out a bunch of other random items to throw. Lang Feng grimaced and exclaimed, This is bad. Seeing the barrels, he started to worry. If there's oil inside, not only will my vision be obscured, but it will also give Zhang Yi the chance to ignite a fire. Just as Lang Feng predicted, one barrel began to spout liquid resembling oil. He quickly dodged to the side to avoid it. Lang Feng angrily cursed. This kid is really dangerous. Zhang Yi opened the space storage and took out a handgun, firing a shot that sent a spark into the oil slick on the ground. The fire immediately ignited and led straight to Lang Feng. Caught off guard, Lang Feng froze for a few seconds, unsure of what to do in this deadly situation. Although he had created a large blaze, Zhang Yi knew that killing Lang Feng wouldn't be easy, as he was equipped with good heat resistance from the Xtaishan base. Zhang Yi thought to himself, Lang Feng's Special Forces uniform has high temperature resistance. This level of fire cannot kill him. However, with such a large blaze, his visibility will certainly be obstructed. On Lang Feng's side, the roaring fire in front of him made it impossible for him to approach Zhang Yi. Lang Feng had an advantage in close combat, while Zhang Yi leaned towards defense. Both were carefully considering how to take each other down as quickly as possible. Lang Feng stood still for a few seconds, pondering, This fire cannot hurt me. The only hassle is the towering flames, making it hard for me to determine Zhang Yi's position. Thinking this, Lang Feng couldn't contain his anger and shouted towards Zhang Yi, How long can you keep using this time-wasting tactic? Maybe you're a genius in defense, but in offense, you're just a clown. Even though Lang Feng was cursing and mocking him for lacking offensive power, Zhang Yi calmly took out items from the space storage to throw. This time, many containers of super adhesive were thrown towards Lang Feng. When Lang Feng was desperately trying to escape the sea of fire to get to Zhang Yi, he unexpectedly collided with the sticky substance spread on the ground. He stopped, observed it closely, and wondered, "What is this?" Lang Feng took a little to test it and discovered it was super glue. Feeling that Zhang Yi was teasing him, he angrily shouted, "You little brat, is all you know how to do is use disgusting tricks?" But despite his curses, Zhang Yi remained calm, not responding at all. The barrels containing the glue continued to be thrown more and more. Reactively, Lang Feng raised both hands to shield his face from the glue, but a moment later, when he intended to lower his hands, he found that the sleeves of his shirt were stuck tight with glue. With no other choice, he had to use force to tear his shirt to be able to move his arms normally. At that moment, Lang Feng was like a mad beast. His hatred for Zhang Yi surged to its peak. "This farce still wants to fight me? Die for me." Unyielding, Lang Feng, after dealing with the sticky mess, took his sword and moved towards Zhang Yi. He secretly thought, "As long as I can hold out until he throws everything, then I can get close and smash his head." This time, Zhang Yi continued to unleash the ultimate move that he and his teammates had prepared beforehand. Countless barrels filled with seafood powder were thrown at him. Since he was allergic to seafood, Lang Feng panicked as soon as he smelled it and realized, "What? This smell?" Lang Feng quickly covered his nose, but it was useless. His face began to turn red like 2 tomatoes. At that time, Zhang Yi closed the space storage and looked at Lang Feng, saying, "Everyone has weaknesses, no one is invincible. Just like Captain Lang Feng, who holds the championship title, swords and spears do not penetrate, but is allergic to seafood. This is the powder I have ground for more than 30 types of seafood. I guarantee there is one that will trigger your strongest allergic reaction. Preparing this gift cost me quite a bit of effort." Lang Feng appeared quite surprised, not understanding how Zhang Yi knew he was allergic to seafood. But at this moment, it no longer mattered. The most important thing was to stay alive. After a moment of holding his nose to avoid the smell of seafood, Lang Feng made a bold decision. He risked charging through the powder. As he ran, he thought to himself, "I'll take the risk with you." Zhang Yi also quickly ran away, not forgetting to say goodbye. "Goodbye, Lang Feng." Lang Feng accelerated while shouting loudly, "Stop right there." In the tense atmosphere, Lang Feng rushed wildly towards Zhang Yi. But Zhang Yi, as skillful as ever, did not want a direct confrontation. While fleeing, he opened his space storage and released the remaining items. The various large and small items, including cars, weapons, swords, hammers, and sickles, even barrels filled with fuel and glue, continuously struck Lang Feng. He nearly took all of them head-on in his path because he no longer cared to dodge. With his powerful strength, Lang Feng had now become a laughingstock for Zhang Yi. He was incredibly furious as he was constantly hit by items from Zhang Yi's space storage. The pain made him clutch his head and collapse to the ground in helplessness and humiliation. After lying still for a long time, Lang Feng seemed to be exhausted after the series of dazzling and unexpected attacks from Zhang Yi. Seeing Lang Feng motionless, Zhang Yi stopped, stared at him for a moment, then continued running, creating a sufficiently safe distance. Then it was as if Zhang Yi was on a trip, making a campfire, lighting a small fire, and sitting down to roast sausages. The young man enjoyed the sausages while cautiously glancing towards Lang Feng. Suddenly, after lying still for a while, Lang Feng woke up, gathering all of his remaining strength, charged towards Zhang Yi, and shouted, "If you have metal, don't run. Stand still and let's settle this one-on-one." His face was now completely deformed due to an allergic reaction, looking even more fearful. Zhang Yi was not foolish enough to stop. The young man continued to run to buy time, waiting for Lang Feng's seafood allergy to worsen. Lang Feng ground his teeth as he pursued, secretly thinking, "I have antihistamines on me, but even if they alleviate the symptoms, I can't last long. I never expected this guy to be so cunning. I played dead, and he didn't stab me even once." After a while of chasing Zhang Yi, due to the severe allergy and exhaustion, Lang Feng coughed violently and then spat out a mouthful of blood. He slammed his hand down on the snow in anger, saying, "Damn, clearly just an ant, yet too cowardly to confront me directly. In the end, I lost to such a despicable trick." Zhang Yi continued to take out the stove from his space storage and resumed roasting sausages. Captain Lang has fallen asleep again. Half an hour later, yawning repeatedly due to a stretched stomach. Worried about eating, he looked towards Lang Feng, still seeing him lying still and motionless. Is he really dead? Or just pretending to be dead? Carefully, Zhang Yi took out the gun and fired continuously at Lang Feng's head. Blood splattered everywhere. He checked thoroughly and muttered to himself, "Is he really dead? Have I really killed the captain of the special forces at the Xishan base, the invincible one, in his lifetime?" Zhang Yi used his superpower to open a space vault, releasing a large vehicle over Lang Feng to pin him down tightly. With this, even if he pretends to be dead, he can't move. It seems he truly is dead. Even if he were acting, he wouldn't go to this extent. Zhang Yi took out a long sword, murmuring as he walked, If that's the case, I will chop off your dry coconut. With a swift slash, the head rolled away. At that moment, Zhang Yi finally breathed a sigh of relief, confirming that Lang Feng was indeed dead. After ensuring Lang Feng was gone for good, he approached, looking at the body pinned under the container truck. Zhang Yi reached out towards Lang Feng's head, and unexpectedly, a stream of light transferred from Lang Feng's body into him. This was Lang Feng's superpower, being absorbed by Zhang Yi. After a while of completely devouring Lang Feng's superpower, Zhang Yi excitedly stood up. Awesome, truly magnificent. But suddenly, an unexpected event occurred. Zhang Yi was alarmed to find something unusual about his face. What? What's wrong with my right eye? It feels like something is about to sprout, but it's not clear. He looked ahead, and his right eye suddenly emitted a stream of mysterious light. The space in front was distorted and twisted. Zhang Yi curiously wondered, what kind of ability is this? Isn't this divine power? Distorting space and breaking objects. Having gained a new ability, he was extremely excited. With this ability, I have compensated for my shortcomings in attacking. In the future, fighting mutant persons will be much easier. I won't be afraid anymore. However, Zhang Yi realized, consumption of this divine power is too great. Using it just once makes my body feel like it's been drained by half. I can probably only use it 3 times in a row at most. The young man then tested the range and effectiveness of his new superpower. In terms of attack range, it was about 300 meters, not suitable for long-distance ambush, but within that range, its effectiveness was even better than heavy firearms. Now, who will be his next prey? Not too far away, Yi Ronghua saw the battlefield cluttered with the cars Zhang Yi had released. Yi Ronghua wondered, why hasn't it ended yet? Captain Lang should have killed Zhang Yi very quickly. Feng Zuan remained confident that Lang Feng would win and added, maybe the captain intends to slowly torment him. Don't worry, we have to trust the captain's strength. Yi Ronghua felt that something was off. The captain is not someone careless like that. At the same moment, Su Chunlei and Uncle Wang exchanged glances, understanding silently. It's been going on for so long. Something must be wrong. There's a good show to watch. Just then, Zhang Yi's voice echoed from the earpiece. He cautioned everyone to keep quiet. Don't be surprised and don't show anything unusual. Wait for my signal, then launch the attack. Hearing Zhang Yi's voice through the earpiece, Uncle Wang and Su Chunlei thought to themselves, that's Zhang Yi's voice, he's still alive. Su Chunlei concluded, Brother Zhang has won, Lang Feng must be dead. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi was hiding behind a snow boulder, quickly observing the superpower members of the Caixin army. He began selecting targets using his divine power vision. The first target was Yi Ronghua's neck. The superpower attack from behind gave her an unusual feeling. Then she screamed in pain. Fast as the wind, Yi Ronghua's head had been severed, leaving her comrades beside her horrified. The group turned back, bewildered, not knowing what had just happened as they saw Yi Ronghua's head and body severed in 2, blood gushing out everywhere. Zhang Yi appeared, holding Lang Feng's head, and shouted, Lang Feng has been killed by me. The crowd turned back in disbelief. How could this be? Captain Lang was killed by him. Zhang Yi ordered everyone to take this opportunity to eliminate them all. Su Chunlei used his superpower to control the snow, creating an opening for the attack. Uncle Wang was also ready to rush in, and they all launched an assault together. Su Chunlei created a snowstorm to assist Uncle Wang, while Liang Yu and the big cat Hua quickly approached the enemies. Standing outside, Zhang Yi commanded, kill them all, leaving no one behind. Liang Yu swung down with a sword, making Su Mingji, the beastman, angrily curse. Damn, it's you guys. But before he could say anything more, Liang Yu helped him log out of the Earth server. Looking back, his entire gang had also logged out as well. Zhang Yi then wanted to absorb Su Mingji's superpower, but suddenly was taken aback. Huh? Why is it not effective? Perhaps it was because these mutant people were too weak, lacking the strength of Lang Feng, so absorbing their superpower didn't yield much benefit. Zhang Yi then called Uncle Wang and Su Chunlei. Everyone come here and try it out. Both of them put their hands on Su Mingji, but it had no effect. Su Chunlei said, it can't be, Zhang. I don't feel anything at all. Uncle Wang added, me neither. Earlier, they had mentioned that not everyone had the ability to absorb. Perhaps among us, only Zhang Yi had this ability. Zhang Yi was startled. It seems that regarding mutant people and superpowers, I still have a lot to learn. In the future, I need to study more materials from the Xaishan base. At the same time, Hoa Hoa was near Su Mingji's body, using its front paws to play with him, but it had no effect. Unable to absorb the superpower, the large cat decided to swallow Su Mingji whole. It opened its mouth wide and gulped him down. Seeing this, Zhang Yi asked, "Hua, can you absorb his power?" Hua nodded. "If so, then I'll leave the leftovers for you as dessert." At the entrance of the Taishan base, the young man Zhang Yi used his superpower to suck everything into the space warehouse. Lion Yu curiously asked, "What else do you plan to do?" The young man answered coldly, "We must never be hasty in our work. We have to remember to clean up thoroughly. We need to finish everything to avoid future troubles." As soon as the young man's words ended, loud explosions rang out. The entire base blew up. Lion Yu looked at the raging sea of flames and said to Zhang Yi, "You really don't spare anyone." In this situation, their chances of survival were very slim. Zhang Yi replied indifferently, "Consider it as buying insurance, but it's still not over." Zhang Yi quickly pulled out an all-terrain vehicle from the space vault. "Let's go, I'll take you to another place. Get in the car." The two all-terrain vehicles sped quickly across the icy snow. Sitting in the vehicle, Zhang Yi used his phone to check the structural map of the Xishan base. This is the internal structural map of the base. Before long, the two vehicles arrived at the mountainous area outside the Xishan base. Lion Yu was very surprised. "You even thought about this?" Zhang Yi explained, "According to the structural map of the Xishan base, I found an escape route connected to the first life storage facility. We need to quickly go there and wipe out the remaining remnants. It's not hard to guess who will use this escape route." Zhang Yi drove quickly after the Xishan soldiers fleeing through the front escape route. Suddenly, Lion Yu saw Shen Xi ran and shouted. Shen Xi ran, running big his teeth tightly, and thought, "Shit, how can they chase so fast? Zhang Yi, how can a person run faster than an all-terrain vehicle?" In the end, Shen Xi ran had to stop and wonder, why are they still chasing at this point? Aside from the first life storage facility, the areas close to the blast center of the base have been almost completely destroyed. I abandoned my wife and children to escape, and in the end, will I still die at his hands? Zhang Yi stopped the vehicle, then slowly got out and walked towards Chen Xi ran, even though he was protected by two guards armed with guns. The young man asked without hesitation, "Aren't you the leader of the Taishan base? You're a big shot. Why are you sneaking away like this?" Completely opposite to Zhang Yi's mindset, Chen Xi ran was extremely worried and said, "Zhang Yi, you must not act recklessly. I believe there is still a possibility for us to negotiate. You cannot kill me. I am also a person of status. If you kill me, it will disrupt the balance between the areas in Tianhai City. At that point, who knows how many crazies will come here, and you will have to face even greater danger." Zhang Yi listened and stroked his chin, thinking, "I don't care about those things." Despite the old man's lies, Zhang Yi laughed. "Ha ha, no matter what you say, it's like that. You should also look at your current state." Chen Xi was startled to find Uncle Wang and Su Chun Li closing in from behind. Zhang Yi continued, "A person who has lost their home has no right to negotiate with me." Chen Xi saw Lion Yu with an angry look and hurriedly explained, "We are currently in an apocalypse. I had no choice but to use heavy punishments to force everyone to comply. If I don't do this, we will all die." Then he turned to Zhang Yi and said, "You are talented. As long as you are willing to cooperate with me, with your abilities, along with my connections and intellect, we can definitely make the Xishan base grow stronger once again. By then, the two of us will rule the entire Tianhai City, and everything will become easier." Zhang Yi was irritated by the ramblings of the old man Chen Xi ran. "Are you done talking?" "Sorry, but what you're saying." Before he could finish his sentence, Zhang Yi used his divine power, and immediately, the old man's head was severed from his body. Blood splattered everywhere. The bodyguards panicked and called out loudly, "Chief!" But it was too late. When the body lies in one place, the head lies in another. Zhang Yi, with a dark expression, coldly said, "I don't need it. I can do it myself." Seeing their leader's head chopped off, two soldiers from the Xishan base rushed forward desperately. Go Guy! Each of them held a grenade determined to kill Zhang Yi at all costs. At that moment, Zhang Yi quickly took out a pistol from his space inventory. Without saying another word, he shot accurately at the legs of the two men. Although caught off guard and about to collapse, the two Xishan soldiers didn't forget to throw their grenades forcefully towards Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi quickly opened a strange space to absorb the two grenades that were about to explode. With their legs injured and unable to move, the two soldiers could only lie there and wait for death. Seeing Zhang Yi approaching, one of them exclaimed in fear, "Don't come over here." But the more he spoke, the faster Zhang Yi moved. The distance was close enough. The young man opened the strange space and pulled out the grenade from earlier. A loud explosion rang out, and one Xishan soldier was reduced to mere bones. The other soldier, seeing this, was so scared he nearly wet himself. Realizing he would be next, he no longer begged for mercy. Zhang Yi approached. The young man grabbed his head tightly with one hand, then used his superpower strength to twist it violently. At that moment, Zhang Yi's face was cold to the point of being indescribable. The young man looked at the shattered head of the Xishan soldier, blood splattering everywhere, and said coolly, "My ability to manipulate space is getting stronger each day." After dealing with several Xishan soldiers, Zhang Yi carefully burned their bodies. Liang Yu, standing next to him, noticed his carefulness and asked, "Is it really necessary to do that? You're being overly cautious. Now that you've destroyed the entire Xishan base, what else is there to worry about?" Zhang Yi breathed a sigh of relief after dealing with the remnants of the Xishan base, then turned to explain to Liang Yu. In the past, Chen Xi Ran was a significant figure in Tianhai City. I know he had a complex social background. What if, after he dies, someone comes looking for me to take revenge? Upon hearing Zhang Yi's words, Liang Yu stared blankly and asked, "Even now, you still think that's a possibility?" Regardless of what Liang Yu thought of him, Zhang Yi didn't care. He clasped his hands and stretched his body to feel comfortable. It was precisely because of my carefulness and thoughtfulness that I could survive in this apocalyptic era. Any potential threat must be dealt with thoroughly. After a while, Zhang Yi turned to Liang Yu and said something that left her speechless. If only you all had thought carefully about the consequences before coming to the Xishan base, perhaps we wouldn't have ended up in the situation we are in today. Liang Yu also silently admitted that what Zhang Yi said was correct. In the past, I have been too hasty in taking my students to the Xishan base. That's right, if I had been able to think more carefully before, perhaps there wouldn't have been so many innocent students sacrificed. While Liang Yu was still deep in thought about Zhang Yi's words, the young man urged, "Uncle Wang, Chen Lei, we should get ready to go back." Seeing Zhang Yi preparing to leave, Liang Yu was startled and ran over to stay. "Let's go pick up my students first." Unexpectedly, this time Zhang Yi agreed to return with Liang Yu to help those students. The two vehicles sped along the road, heading back to where the group of students was hiding. As soon as they saw someone approaching, the students were overjoyed, and one person ran over shouting, "Teacher Liang." After bringing Liang Yu to the place, Zhang Yi still did not forget what he had promised her before. "We will head back first. By the way, based on what I promised you, I will provide accommodation and some food for you. From now on, you should go to Sudong Village as there are many vacant rooms available there now." Seeing Zhang Yi's cold attitude, Liang Yu was a bit surprised. "Can't you come back to pick us up?" Zhang Yi responded frankly, "I have fulfilled the promise between us by saving you. To show my gratitude, I have agreed to provide accommodation and some food for your students. If you want more than that, then let's exchange benefits on equal terms." Liang Yu shyly stammered, I thought we were friends." Zhang Yi raised a finger and told Liang Yu, "Because we are friends, I can be straightforward like this. Only in this way can we avoid hurting our feelings." Liang Yu realized that she had probably overthought things. After all, the relationship between Zhang Yi and B is merely a mutually beneficial cooperation. With that thought, she sighed, "All right, we will go there on our own." With that said, Liang Yu hurriedly left. Before she left, Zhang Yi did not forget to gently say to Liang Yu, "All right, see you another time in Sudong Village." The young man watched Liang Yu's figure and silently thought, "I don't care about your students, but as a mutant person God bestows superior martial arts, I have no reason to let it go. Sooner or later, you will become mine." Liang Yu walked back in and saw a group of students burning a fire for warmth, anxiously asking, "Is everyone okay?" Without answering Liang Yu's question, a female student eagerly asked back, "Miss Liang, why have they left? Didn't they say they would arrange accommodation for us?" Liang Yu gently stepped forward and took her hand to reassure her. "Don't worry, I have discussed this with Zhang Yi. I will take you to Sujia town, where the living conditions are better. Moreover, Sujia town has many residents and is close to the Lujiang River, so we can fish for food later." However, a female student was not satisfied with Liang Yu's answer and asked, "As far as I know, Yang Xin and Lu Keiran have already moved into Zhang Yi's villa. Why didn't you discuss with Zhang Yi so we could also move in there?" Hearing a girl's reasoning made sense. If they could live there, they wouldn't have to worry about anything anymore. A male student nodded in agreement. "Exactly. If Yang Xin and Lu Keiran can stay there, why can't we?" The female student turned to urge Liang Yu. "Teacher Liang, you should go discuss things with Zhang Yi. It's too cold outside. Making us go out to catch fish will freeze our hands." Alongside those students who were unhappy with the current situation, there were also those who understood the situation well. They stood quietly listening to Liang Yu say, "We shouldn't think about this anymore. Zhang Yi has helped us escape from the Xishan base, which was already very difficult. Why should they give us shelter on top of that? At least now we are free. which is better than being at the Xishan base without knowing what tomorrow will bring. Seeing that the group of students still wouldn't give up, Liang Yu raised her voice. Enough, stop talking. For the first time seeing Liang Yu angry, the female student felt a bit scared and fell silent. After that, Liang Yu sat down on the ground, hugged her sword, closed her eyes, and told everyone, "Tonight we will take turns keeping watch, so get some rest. Tomorrow morning we will head to Sujia town." The group of students saw Liang Yu's determination and fell silent, saying nothing more. The scene shifts to the next day. Zhang Yi was driving while talking to Uncle Wang. "How about you and Aunt Zhao just move here permanently? The villa area and the estate are both luxurious. You can choose later. The living environment here is much better than in Yulu. Furthermore, it will be easier for everyone to support each other if we are close by." Uncle Wang listened to Zhang Yi, his eyes revealing a sense of emotion. "Well, I think it's a good idea. After this major battle, I also feel the strength of unity. In fact, it was just my wife and me there, and there were times I felt a bit scared." Tho Chun Lei looked at Uncle Wang with a surprised expression. "Uncle Wang, what are you afraid of?" Chun Lei approached and put an arm around Uncle Wang's shoulders in affirmation. "With your strength, unless you encounter an organization like Xi Shan, a group of 30 to 50 ordinary people wouldn't be a match for you." Uncle Wang gazed off into the distance and said, "I'm worried about encountering similar organizations." As someone meticulous, Zhang Yi also agreed with Uncle Wang's perspective. The young man affirmed that Uncle Wang's concerns were valid. From Chen Xi Ran's last words, we can tell that the city of Tanhai can't just have one Xi Shan base. Although the Ice Age has caused the majority of people to perish, it also means that the survivors are very difficult to deal with. Tanhai used to be a super dense city with 20 million people. Just imagine how many people with superpowers and how many armed forces must be here. However, we don't need to worry too much. Xishan was so strong, yet we still managed to defeat them. In the future, as long as we stay together with our current strength, we won't be afraid no matter who we face. Hearing Zhang Yi's logical analysis, Uncle Wang made a decision. "That's right. Let's pack our things and move right now." As soon as Zhang Yi arrived home, Zhou Kaini and Yang Mai immediately surrounded him. They anxiously went around, first checking his hands and then examining him to see if he was injured anywhere. Zhang Yi looked at their actions and worried expressions, then spoke coldly, "As if I would be hurt like you think. I'm fine, still very well. Nothing is missing, I'm still in one piece, and everything works." Upon hearing this, the two girls finally breathed a sigh of relief. Aunt Zhao was also very concerned about Uncle Wang's safety. As soon as she saw her husband, she grabbed his hands and asked anxiously, "You're not hurt, are you?" Uncle Wang, although looking a bit tired, was not injured at all. "Don't worry, everything is fine." While everyone was chatting cheerfully, Liu Keiran quietly watched Zhang Yi from a corner of the house. Zhang Yi seemed to understand the thoughts in the girl's mind, so he walked over to Liu Keiran. Zhang Yi gave Liu Keiran a heartfelt hug and said, "Thank you all. This victory couldn't have happened without your help." Liu Keiran immediately changed her expression. She smiled with a hint of shyness when Zhang Yi hugged her. She also wrapped her arms tightly around the young man and politely replied, "I only helped a little. You and everyone else are the ones who created the strongest force to win." Zhang Yi stared at the rosy cheeks of Liu Keiran, then mischievously pinched her cheek lightly. He knew how to win a woman's heart, saying things to make Liu Keiran feel how important she was to him. "Don't feel inferior and underestimate yourself. You are very important to me." Hearing Zhang Yi's words, Liu Keiran's face turned completely red, her hands tightly clenching in embarrassment. "I am important to him? Did he really say I am very important to him?" At that moment, Yang Xin also arrived. She stared at the intimate gestures Zhang Yi directed towards Liu Keiran. Understanding the situation, Zhang Yi quickly approached, bent down, and hugged Xin. Following that were compliments whispered into Xin's ear. "In my opinion, the one playing the most crucial role this time is our little girl, Xin." Zhang Yi gently sat down next to Yang Xin and took her small hand. The young man smiled and showered the girl with praise about her expertise. "If it weren't for your strong hacking skills, we can say super pro VIP, our plan would not be able to proceed. There would be no way to infiltrate the Xishan base with such a tight system and security forces." After the battle ended and hearing Zhang Yi announce the return to the shelter, everyone was pleased. Yang Mai cheerfully said, "Of course going back is good. After all, the conditions at the shelter are wonderful and much more spacious." Uncle Wang looked at Zhang Yi with curiosity and asked, "What are your plans?" Aunt Zhao chimed in, "Is my previous villa still there? When I bought it, I had to pay $200 million. Zhang Yi looked at Aunt Zhao and replied, "It has been completely destroyed, but there are still many other villas intact. When the time comes, we can move to another one." Hearing Zhang Yi, Aunt Zhao looked sad inside, her eyes clearly showing regret. That was the accumulation of my entire life. After resting for a while and talking with everyone, Zhang Yi began to stand up, opened the strange space, and collected everything inside. The young man also advised everyone to only take essential items, keep the house in its current state, and leave some personal belongings behind. Zhou Kaini and Yang Mai immediately started to gather their personal luggage. Zhang Yi continued, and just in case one day there is an unavoidable situation over there, we can use this place as a shelter to escape. This is still a high-security refuge and has been my heartfelt effort since the world entered this stage, so I cherish it very much. After everyone had gone outside, the young man carefully locked the door. Zhang Yi thought to himself, besides me, no one can enter this place. I'm not kind enough to leave this place for others to use. Suddenly, Zhang Yi noticed that someone was lurking behind him. He turned around to see the silhouette of a man. It was none other than Li Jian. Li Jian quickly stepped closer to Zhang Yi. The young man, Zhang Yi, was very surprised. How could he make it up here? So the young man coldly pressed him. What are you doing here? Did Uncle Wang allow you to come up? Li Jian replied to Zhang Yi. Last night, we heard a loud explosion from the west. Everyone was awakened, so no one could sleep. Then this morning we saw you all returning, so I ran over to see what was going on. Zhang Yi took a moment to ask him, how have you been feeling lately? Had you noticed anything unusual? Li Jian immediately answered, no, not at all. I don't dare use that ability much now. Professor Jai once warned that if I use it too much, I might soon end up as fertilizer. After exchanging a few words, Zhang Yi hurriedly said goodbye to him and left, then just lived through the day like that. You need to take better care of your health. Take care. After a while of moving, the group finally arrived at the old villa. As soon as they entered the house, Zhang Yi said to Su Chunlai and Uncle Wang, there are about 10 other villas around that haven't been destroyed. Whenever you two finish resting, recover your health, and feel relaxed, you can choose as you wish. Uncle Wang and Chunlai looked at each other with excited expressions that nodded. Okay. After selling everything, Zhang Yi finally entered his private room. The big cat, Hoa Hoa, always wrapped itself around his legs. Zhang Yi lay back on his familiar bed to enjoy life after many days of hard work eliminating the Xai Shan group. The young man closed his eyes tightly and thought to himself, the effect of the stimulant is about to wear off. After that, my body will fall into a weak state. After being on guard for a month, I can finally sleep soundly. After a while of idle thinking, Zhang Yi quickly fell into a deep sleep. Hoa Hoa, too, perhaps feeling quite tired, lay beside Zhang Yi and slept. Meanwhile, Liang Yu's group unexpectedly arrived at Sudong village. The villagers curiously gathered at the village entrance, peeking in with a mix of curiosity and a bit of fear. They silently wondered, why have the people from the Xaishan base come here again? Hundreds of worries flashed through the minds of the Sudong villagers. A series of questions and concerns piled up in their minds. Did the Xaishan group come here to exploit and capture people, or to rob all the food resources here? As Lion Yu stepped inside, he saw a heartbreaking scene he had become familiar with recently. Everyone in the house looked worn out from hunger after a long period. None of them had any vitality. Each was finding a place to lean on to try to endure the adversity. A thought suddenly crossed Lion Yu's mind. The housing issue has been resolved, but food and water remain a challenge. This is a significant obstacle. Facing this difficulty is indeed an unpredictable challenge. Lion glanced around and immediately caught the inquisitive gazes of the villagers hiding behind the fence. They were guarding against the fear that her appearance might bring significant trouble. However, her mind was now solely focused on solving the tricky materials problem. Many thoughts crossed her mind. These students could not quickly master the skills of fishing under the thick ice out there. She also could not attack or infringe upon the villagers. At this moment, except for Zhang Yi, no one could help. So Lion Yu had to grit her teeth and think of Zhang Yi, the only one who could assist her at this moment. After a moment of reflection, she sighed with relief and decided the only way was to look for Zhang Yi and ask for some food to temporarily fill her stomach. The scene shifted to Zhang Yi's villa. After returning, the young man spent most of his time resting to regain energy. In the room, Zhou Kai Ni was gently massaging him. While Zhang Yi was closing his eyes to enjoy the refreshing sensation, Kai Ni gently asked him, Zhang Yi, now that we are safe, do you want to consider having a child? Hearing this topic, Zhang Yi yawned and frankly replied, why would we think about that? Once we have a child, we will have to put in a lot of effort for them every day. Upon hearing Zhang Yi's words, Zhou Kai Ni's eyes became filled with sorrow. Seeing her looking sad, Zhang Yi gently stroked her cheek to comfort her. Let's enjoy our current life. Don't think too far ahead. Seeing that Zhang Yi was unwilling, Zhou Kai Ni also fell silent, continuing to massage him without saying anything more. But deep down, Zhang Yi knew he did not want a child at all. Not to mention the impact it would have on their current lives. Bringing another life into the apocalypse would only add another burden. In an era where humanity was gradually dying, having another child would be like leading it to its death. After a moment, Zhou Kai Nai brought up the topic of children again with a deep desire. But I really want to have a baby that is the essence of our love. Is that not possible? In Zhou Kai Ni's heart was not so much a genuine longing for the child they could create together, but rather another calculation. Given the current situation, the number of women in this shelter was increasing day by day. If she had a child, wouldn't her position in his heart become more secure? Zhang Yi probably understood the hidden thoughts behind Kai Ni's eyes. He quickly shifted to a new approach. The young man smiled at Zhou Kai Ni and said, "Then it would be too troublesome. There is a simpler way." Hearing her man say that, Kai Ni was instantly intrigued and asked back, "Huh? What method?" Zhang Yi pinched her chin and then taught her how to keep him. "Take care of your body, maintain your sexy figure and beautiful face. Do some more training." Zhou Kai Ni's cheeks turned red with embarrassment. She stared at Zhang Yi, thinking that if he hadn't mentioned it, she would never have thought of this. Kai Ni, feeling shy, pointed at Zhang Yi and complained playfully, "You only know how to tease me." Then she leaned close to Zhang Yi and whispered, "This kind of thing can't be done by just me alone. I'm taking advantage of your current weakness to be a little proud." The young man was not one to be underestimated. Though weak, his verbal skills were still quite sharp. He whispered back to Kai Ni, "Once my health recovers, I will definitely let you know about the beast within me." The two continued talking without any special actions. "All right, then I will wait and see." "Okay, just wait." At that moment, outside the door, Uncle Wang had arrived. He was about to knock again when he heard the couple's sweet exchanges and paused for a moment. Uncle Wang coughed lightly to let Zhang Yi know he was there. "Zhang Yi, Liang Yu has arrived. She said she wants to see you." Zhang Yi called out from inside the room, "Please invite her in. I also have something I want to discuss with her." Seeing Zhang Yi just leave the room, Yang Mai immediately ran over to support him, her expression worried. "No need," Zhang Yi replied. "My health isn't weak enough for that yet." Zhang Yi was quite cheerful upon seeing Liang Yu again. "Ms. Liang, you're here. Please come sit over here." Noticing Liang Yu dressed simply in the cold winter without any combat gear, Zhang Yi asked, "Why aren't you wearing combat gear while out here?" Liang Yu replied as she took the hot cup of water from Zhang Yi. The temperature control system requires power to operate. At that moment, the young man suddenly remembered that not everyone is as wealthy as he is. He thought to himself, "That's right, not everyone can access electricity whenever they want like I can." Zhang Yi took a sip of tea while chatting with Liang Yu. "With your abilities, you should be able to live a little more comfortably. I didn't expect you'd have to endure hardships today as well." Zhang Yi was a straightforward person who disliked beating around the bush. He got straight to the point. "Did you come to see me this time for something specific?" After a moment of thought, Liang Yu decided to speak frankly with Zhang Yi. "We'd arranged this before. I would help you attack and counterattack the Xishan base, and you would provide accommodation and food for me and the students." Liang Yu glanced at Zhang Yi to gauge his thoughts, then continued, "Now that the Xishan base has been destroyed, the Sudong village has already prepared a place for us to stay. Therefore, I hope you can provide us with more supplies. You know that my students are all rather pampered. It would take time for them to forage for food or go fishing in the river." Zhang Yi felt somewhat annoyed when Liang Yu mentioned the students. From the very beginning of rescuing Yang Xin, he had not liked the personalities of these students. Zhang Yi looked at Liang Yu and asked, clearly irritated, "Are you saying they haven't suffered enough at the Xishan base?" Up until now, Liang Yu still treats her students like little birds that need to be sheltered. That's why today she made the decision to lower herself to come here and plead with Zhang Yi. Knowing that Zhang Yi did not like her students, Liang Yu changed the subject. "Let's not talk about that for now. Anyway, you should first provide us with supplies so we can get through for a while. I will find ways to address the other issues later." Though Zhang Yi did not like the students, he greatly valued having someone with martial arts skills like Liang Yu. So the young man nodded in agreement. "Of course, that's fine." With that, Zhang Yi opened the strange space, retrieving some necessary supplies. Once everything was prepared, Zhang Yi looked at Liang Yu and said, "These supplies will be enough for you and the dozen or so students for half a month. Take them back. This is what we had arranged beforehand." Liang Yu's face lit up with joy as she quickly set down the glass of water in her hand. She did not forget to thank Zhang Yi. "Thank you, Zhang Yi." For the young man, Zhang Yi, these supplies were nothing significant, but for Liang Yu and the group of students, they were extremely important. Zhang Yi took a small sip of water and told Liang Yu, "This is what you deserve. Don't thank me." After that, Liang Yu quickly took out a bag to put all the supplies in. Seeing Liang Yu's hurried expression, Zhang Yi curiously asked, "A woman who leads so many students must be very hard-pressed, right?" When Liang Yu heard this, she said nothing and only sighed quietly. Her face showed an expression of exhaustion. Liang Yu thought to herself, "Since the apocalypse began as a teacher, I have always done my utmost to protect the students." Thinking of this, Liang Yu's eyes revealed a sense of grievance. Deep down, she knew that the students regarded her as their support, but no one cared whether she was struggling or not. After a moment of sadness, Liang Yu quickly concealed her emotions and replied to Zhang Yi, "Thank you, but I cannot abandon those students. If I let go, they will not be able to survive in this world." She held the supply bag, stood up, and continued, "That would make it impossible for me to forgive myself." Upon hearing Liang Yu's words, Zhang Yi thought to himself, "Is life so hard because one cannot let go of responsibility and the burdens on their shoulders?" A different thought suddenly sprang to the young man's mind, a way he could bring Liang Yu onto his team. If he could help Liang Yu reasonably deal with those students, she would surely be very pleased. Zhang Yi propped his chin and contemplated. Her stubbornness to not abandon those students comes from her inner beliefs. As long as there is a suitable reason to let go, Liang Yu will be able to step into a new life with peace of mind. After all, those students are not of any good. If there is an opportunity in the future, resolving all her burdens wouldn't be a bad thing. Seeing Liang Yu prepare to leave, Zhang Yi did not forget to remind her, "You are being too lenient with them. They are clearly not young anymore. Most of them are already adults, yet they still act like babies who haven't weaned off, relying entirely on you. Liang Yu, what will you do when all this food is gone? Are you going to nurture all of them by yourself?" Upon hearing Zhang Yi's words, Liang Yu sighed and thought to herself, "What else can I do? I thought that after going through those experiences, they would have matured a little, but looking back now, it was just my wishful thinking." Zhang Yi then spoke up, "Liang Yu, it's too hard for you to do this. Let me help you." At this moment, Liang Yu was surprised and looked at Zhang Yi with weary eyes. She didn't understand what Zhang Yi meant and asked him, "What do you mean by that?" Seeing Liang Yu's curious gaze, Zhang Yi stroked his chin and slowly voiced his thoughts. "I said I could provide food for you. You also know I have many resources at my disposal. Food is abundant. Even with 10 more people like you, there would be no pressure at all." She always listened intently to Zhang Yi. Noticing how hard she was working for that group of students, Zhang Yi continued, "As a good person, I truly cannot just stand by. In this apocalyptic era, no one gives anything for free." Therefore, upon hearing what Zhang Yi said, Liang Yu directly asked the question, "First, let me ask you, if you help us, what you hope it will do for you?" At this moment, Zhang Yi explained clearly for Liang Yu to understand. "You're mistaken. It's not helping you, but helping you." Not fond of beating around the bush, Zhang Yi stood up abruptly, looked intently at Liang Yu with a probing gaze, and said, "I need you to provide enough value in exchange for food." At this point, Liang Yu still truly didn't understand Zhang Yi's intention. After pondering for a moment, she struggled to ask back, "Tell me, what do you need me to use to trade with you?" Zhang Yi calmly pointed a finger at her. "I want you." Liang Yu was taken aback upon hearing Zhang Yi's response. She was so surprised that her mouth fell open and her face turned as red as 2 tomatoes. After a few seconds of being stunned, Liang Yu stood up, facing Zhang Yi, and pointed a finger directly at his face with an angry expression. You are going too far," she declared confidently to Zhang Yi. "Even though I really need supplies to save those students, I absolutely will not sell my body." Zhang Yi chuckled lightly when he realized Liang Yu thought he needed her body. At that moment, several question marks appeared in the young man's mind. Feeling that women's thoughts were truly extraordinary, Zhang Yi raised both hands and said to Liang Yu, "I will ask you to be my tutor and teach me martial arts. Is this what has become inferior?" Liang Yu exclaimed in surprise when she heard Zhang Yi's explanation. Zhang Yi responded with an "oh" and continued, "So you thought I wanted you to do that? Ha ha ha." Her imagination is quite vivid. At this moment, Liang Yu's face turned gray, unsure of where to hide from embarrassment. Zhang Yi stared at her without blinking, then clicked his tongue and said, "Ha, what are you thinking? You're a teacher, how can your mind be so dark?" Liang Yu blushed with embarrassment, stuttering and unable to speak. "Ha ha ha." After regaining her composure, she apologized. "Zhang Yi, I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you meant." Young Zhang Yi now had another excuse to pretend to be angry. "Do you think I'm that kind of person? Liang Yu, you underestimate me." Seizing the opportunity, Zhang Yi pressed on. The young man turned away and said nonchalantly, "It's up to you whether you want to be my tutor or not. I'm not forcing you. You can go, Liang Yu." Seeing Zhang Yi turn away with a clear expression of regret, she called after him, No, unwilling." As long as you want to learn martial arts, I have no objections. Outside the door, Sin Sin had arrived some time ago. After overhearing the conversation between the two, Sin Sin thought to herself, Zhang Yi, do you have any intentions regarding teacher Liang? Liang Yu clenched her hands tightly with a very determined look in her eyes. She murmured, teaching Zhang Yi martial arts in exchange for food is an opportunity that must not be missed. Young Zhang Yi also glanced at Liang Yu and told himself, this female teacher is strong in combat and so naive and straightforward. I have my eyes set on her. Seeing that Liang Yu had agreed, Zhang Yi turned to say, then here's the deal. You come to the shelter every day to teach me martial arts for over 2 hours. That's the exchange condition. I can provide food for 10 people. Hearing that there were only 10 portions, Liang Yu exclaimed, 10 people? She clasped her hands together with a very sincere expression and pleaded, could you give us a few more portions? We have a total of 16 people, and 10 might not be enough. Zhang Yi sighed and replied, Teacher Lion, I hope you can understand my difficulties. This is not a one-time provision, it's 10 people getting 10 portions of food every day. Furthermore, you wouldn't want your students to become lazy, relying solely on my support to get by, would you? At this point, realizing Zhang Yi made a valid point, Liang Yu had no choice but to accept. Alright then, 10 people will do. After finishing the arrangement with Zhang Yi, Liang Yu carried the supplies bag back to Xudong village. As for Zhang Yi, after completing a transaction, he felt exhausted. The young man collapsed onto the sofa, letting out a deep sigh. After a while, Lu Keiran and Yang Xinxin came to find Zhang Yi. Upon seeing the two of them, Zhang Yi exclaimed, you guys are a bit late. Teacher Liang just left. Xinxin casually replied, no, I came because she left. Zhang Yi, surprised, continued, don't you want to talk to your teacher for a bit? Xinxin looked at Zhang Yi with a probing gaze. If we were here, it would affect your negotiation with her. Just as Zhang Yi took a sip of water, Xinxin asked him, do you have any feelings for teacher Liang? Xinxin's question caused Zhang Yi to choke, nearly spitting out the water. He hastily put down the cup, wiped his mouth, and looked at Xinxin. Why are you suddenly asking a question like that? Hearing Yang Xinxin ask Zhang Yi about having feelings for Liang Yu, Lu Keiran covered her mouth and giggled, saying, ha ha, you are too amorous. Lu Keiran cast a cold look at Zhang Yi, causing him to feel a bit shy and turn his face away. She continued to tease Zhang Yi. You already have 2 older sisters, but still want to pursue our teacher Liang. However, Yang Xinxin seemed to understand Zhang Yi's thoughts very well. She crossed her arms and said, if we look at the development process of human civilization, this is indeed the most effective and direct method to establish alliances. Hearing Xinxin speak her mind, Zhang Yi bowed his head in silence. Yang Xinxin continued her analysis. Liang Yu's strength is formidable, and from a woman's perspective, she is very attractive to the opposite sex, coupled with her bravery and humble personality. Yang Xinxin hesitated for a moment before continuing. Actually, it's not surprising if you pursue her. Caught off guard by Xinxin's remark, Zhang Yi had to admit it. The young man no longer avoided the scrutinizing gaze of the 2 girls. This time he looked straight at them and confessed, you are very smart. I won't beat around the bush anymore. I want to have an ally like Liang Yu. Liang Yu's fighting capacity is very strong, which would be beneficial for me. Therefore, I plan to recruit her to become a member of our group. Although he had admitted to wanting to form an alliance with Liang Yu when it came to feelings, Zhang Yi straightforwardly stated, as for romantic feelings, there is nothing at all. While Zhang Yi spoke, Xinxin and Lu Keiran stared at him intently. Perhaps they found it hard to believe that the answer was no. However, since the host Zhang Yi had asserted it, Xinxin felt she had to believe it. She looked at him and responded, yes, I understand. However, from another perspective, if Zhang Yi can recruit Liang Yu, it would benefit everyone. Because in this current apocalyptic era, having another talent like Liang Yu would mean increased safety. Understanding this, Xinxin immediately encouraged Zhang Yi. If that's the case, you should try your best and Xinxin will support you. Zhang Yi was inevitably surprised when he heard this and exclaimed, you will support me? Having been by Liang Yu's side for quite some time, Xinxin confidently replied, I know exactly what kind of person teacher Liang is better than you do. Xinxin understands how to persuade her to become one of us. However, if Zhang Yi thought differently, he was confident in his current situation, as he had a safe refuge, abundant supplies, and good living conditions, believing he could win her over without doing anything complicated. Yet Xinxin sighed when she remembered those students. The challenge was how to help her escape from those burdensome troubles. Noticing Xinxin's thoughtful expression, Zhang Yi said, Don't think about harming him for now. I don't want to strain my relationship with Liang Yu too much. With her stubbornness, if she finds out I killed her students, she won't hesitate to fight me to the death. Sin Sin nodded and stroked her chin affirmatively. There will be opportunities. We just need to wait a little longer. Zhang Yi leaned back on the sofa, letting out a sigh of relief. If you have any plans, just go ahead, as long as you don't let Liang Yu find out. Yes, I understand. As she was preparing to return to her room, Sin Sin suddenly remembered something. Ah, right, brother, I have been researching information at the Xishan base these past few days. There's something I want to tell you. Zhang Yi looked at Sin Sin with an eager expression. Oh, what is it? Go ahead. The Xishan base was built by the government previously, and their equipment is complete. The amount of information they hold is enormous, which has led me to discover a lot of interesting news. Zhang Yi became curious. What kind of news? Sin Sin knew the young man was anxious to know, but she can reveal it immediately. She turned back to Zhang Yi and said, "The amount of information is too large. I haven't finished processing it yet. I'm just giving you a heads up to prepare you mentally. However, based on the information gathered so far, it can be confirmed that the entire city of Tianhai is similar to the Xishan base. There are definitely other powerful armed organizations. Brother Zhang Yi, given how loudly we've been operating before, do you think it would attract other forces?" Hearing Sin Sin's question, Zhang Yi rested his chin on his hand and pondered for a moment, then replied, "I know this too." Not thinking any further, the young man threw himself onto the sofa and analyzed. A vast city like Tianhai cannot possibly have only the Xishan base as a powerful armed force. Sin Sin also affirmed, but there are still disagreements between the forces. A question began to form in her mind. What if there are many other powerful forces like the Xishan base? In fact, Zhang Yi had thought about this for a long time, but thinking too much wouldn't solve anything right away, so he decided to leave it to fate. Now, the young man could only hope that he wouldn't be unlucky enough to confront other forces. However, Zhang Yi also affirmed, "We do not provoke anyone, nor are we afraid of anyone. If we do encounter other forces with our current strength, we shouldn't be afraid." In the young man's mind at that moment, the capable warriors appeared, including himself, of course. Zhang Yi reminded himself, "If we include Liang Yu, our supernatural force consists of 5 people. Any force that wants to confront us must consider carefully." Sin Sin looked at Zhang Yi with a confident smile. "Yes, sir, I will quickly finish compiling all the documents and send them to you." After the conversation between Sin Sin and Zhang Yi about future plans, Liu Keiran immediately pushed her back to the office. Before leaving, Sin Sin also told Zhang Yi, "I will arrange all the documents as soon as possible and then give them to you." The young man smiled, thanking Yang Sin Sin for her efforts over time. "Yeah, thank you. You worked hard." Suddenly, Zhang Yi called Liu Keiran. "Come here for a moment." Liu Keiran unexpectedly pointed at herself and said, "Boss, do you need me to do anything? Just give the order." Liu Keiran walked closer to Zhang Yi, listening intently as he spoke. "The situation now is that not only our family lives at the Yun Kuei estate, the Xu Shenlai family and Uncle Wang's family have also moved here. If enemies intrude again, I don't want to be in a position of only passive defense like before. Therefore, I want to ask you to help me design a blueprint for a defensive stronghold. After that, we will build a defense line around the 3 families to deal with the enemies." Liu Keiran understood what Zhang Yi was saying, and she calmly replied with her arms crossed. "Designing the blueprint is simple, but building a large defensive structure based solely on our number of people is not enough, right? Not to mention, we also lack large machinery, and transporting materials would be very difficult." Zhang Yi wanted to hear more from Liu Keiran. "What do you think we are still lacking?" The young man listed the things he could handle. "For transporting materials, I can take care of that. If we need more people, Uncle Wang is available, and Chen Li can operate the snow machinery. You can also count on yourself for this. If we need to cut materials, we can call Liang Yu. Hoa Hoa can also lend a hand with the work. Do you see any other issues?" Liu Keiran pondered, considering what Zhang Yi had said. Perhaps these were things she had never thought of, leading her to believe that their group still lacked manpower. After a moment, Liu Keiran smiled and said to Zhang Yi, "That's true. Although the number of people is small, each one has special skills. Looking back now, building a solid defense line is not impossible." After carefully calculating everything from manpower to the capabilities of each individual to allocate them into specific positions, Zhang Yi urged Liu Keiran, "You should go ahead with the design first. If you need anything or need to know how to proceed later, just tell me directly and I will take care of it." Understanding the issue, Liu Keiran nodded in agreement. "Okay, I understand." A few days later, Zhang Yi called Uncle Wang and Chun Lai to discuss the construction plan for the defense line for all three families. The young man pointed to the map in front of him and said, "Let's focus on our three families as the center and build a solid defense line around that. This way, if we encounter a strong enemy at any time, we won't be passive anymore. Even if the first defense line is breached, we can still fall back to a hiding place and continue to defend." Uncle Wang and Chun Lai listened attentively to Zhang Yi's plan. Since this was a way for them to protect themselves and their families, everyone displayed a tense expression. After hearing Zhang Yi speak, Uncle Wang and Chun Lai nodded in agreement. "Okay, we'll do as you say." Chun Lai let out a sigh of relief and then expressed his concerns from the past few days. "Brother, we think very similarly. Honestly, I'm very worried. Sometimes in the middle of the night while sleeping deeply, if someone bursts in and points a gun at my head, just thinking about it makes me scared. That's why, when he heard Zhang Yi talk about this plan, Su Chun Lai felt very happy." Uncle Wang also added his input to this defense plan. When constructing a defensive line, you must not only focus on defense, but also have a capability for temporary counterattack. His suggestion is deploy additional strong firepower around the defensive line. Chun Li, hearing the mention of firepower, wondered, then how will the issue of weapons and ammunition be resolved? Zhang Yi frowned and thought for a moment before saying, "This issue is simple. We can produce ammunition, and we have quite a few firearms. However, ultimately, those who dare to attack us will certainly be a well-armed force. Therefore, heavy firepower is needed." Zhang Yi suddenly remembered the Taishan base and came up with an idea. "In a few days, when we recover to our best state, let's go explore the ruins of the Taishan base. There are many interesting things there." Uncle Wang agreed with this idea. "In fact, I've been thinking about this issue these past few days. Considering the defensive capability of the Taishan base, it's not inferior to our hideout. We can dismantle some materials and bring them back to strengthen our defensive line." But at this moment, Zhang Yi was worried. Their technology is all about solid casting. How can it be easily dismantled? There's another thing that troubles me. Where else can we obtain more construction materials? Uncle Wang questioned. To build fortifications, we need at least steel, cement, and concrete. Without these, it seems impossible to use snow to build a defensive line right. Indeed, necessity is the mother of invention. Zhang Yi suddenly had an idea. Or perhaps we could build a defense line with ice, which is not a bad option. Su Chun Lai, despite having the superpower of controlling snow, had never heard of the idea of using ice for defense before. Chun Lai's eyes revealed his surprise. Zhang Yi pointed to the map in front of him. This time, the young man focused on the Lujiang River. Right in front is the Lujiang River. We can take a lot of ice from it to build a wall and establish a defense line. At this outdoor temperature, we don't have to worry about it melting, and it is also very easy to repair. In fact, it's not a bad material. At that moment, we could embed steel frames as the internal structure, making it relatively easy to construct an ice wall. In the living room of the villa, Zhang Yi called Uncle Wang's family and Chun Lai to discuss the plan and to relieve stress after the hard days of destroying the Taishan base. The men sat and discussed strategies while the women gathered to play cards. Zhao Kai Nai brought out some glasses of water and said, "Now that the Taishan base has been destroyed, you guys are even more cautious than before." Stating his cautious nature, Zhang Yi frowned and replied, "Caution is necessary for steering a ship for 1,000 years. We cannot hope for others to handle things, but we can implement the best safety measures for ourselves." Chun Lai looked at Zhang Yi with a curious expression and asked, "Brother Zhang, will there be any armed forces approaching here in the future? Tai High City cannot have a power stronger than the Xishan base, right?" Zhang Yi shook his head upon hearing Chun Li's naive question. "Chun Lai, you have forgotten to consider one situation." Seeing Chun Li's innocent and confused expression, Zhang Yi began to explain in more detail for him to understand the seriousness of the situation. "The Xishan base has indeed been destroyed by us. That is the truth. Others may not know about this incident. To those people, we are just an ordinary group of people, not even considered a power." Chun Li nodded in agreement. That makes sense. Hearing this, Chun Li began to understand. His naturally timid nature started making him urge Zhang Yi, "So we should quickly build a defense line, right? To be honest, I am a bit scared." Zhang Yi rested his chin on his hand for a moment, then said, "The longer we delay, the more danger we face. We must start immediately." Zhang Yi turned with determination and a hint of confidence and firmly told everyone, "All right then, in 3 days we will go to the Taishan base together and assess everything that can be utilized there." Uncle Wang and Chun Lai nodded in response. "Okay, no problem." While everyone was having a pleasant conversation, suddenly the doorbell rang, startling all three of them. Chun Lai looked at the camera and recognized, "Isn't that Teacher Liang? What is she here for?" Quite perceptive, Chunlei stroked his chin a few times and looked at Zhang Yi. Brother Zhang, have you recruited her? Zhang Yi shot Chunlei a glance and confirmed. What are you talking about? I'm not that kind of person. Your relationship with her is purely platonic. She is your martial arts tutor, understand? At this moment, Uncle Wang teased Zhang Yi. You already have a relationship, yet it's still platonic. At this time, a scene flashed through Chunlei's mind as he thought about tutors, and he lamented while imagining a tutor. After a moment of contemplation, Chunlei covered his mouth and whispered to Zhang Yi, Brother Zhang really knows how to play. Ignoring what Uncle Wang and Chunlei thought, Zhang Yi went to open the door for Liang Yu. The polite young man invited her into the room. As soon as she entered the living room, Liang Yu was taken aback to see a scene completely unlike the present day. Everyone was present, chatting and enjoying food together, especially with Sim Sin and Liu Keiran there. Liang Yu thought to herself, are all of you really here? Seeing everyone happily chatting, she admired the atmosphere here, which felt truly wonderful like a family. Seeing Liang Yu arrive, Sim Sin and Liu Keiran waved hello. Liang Yu looked at them and sighed. Seeing that you are doing well now, I truly feel relieved. Liu Keiran quickly pushed Sim Sin towards Liang Yu. Sim Sin looked at Teacher Liang and affirmed, Mr. Zhang Yi treats us very well. We are very happy living here. Liang Yu sat down and Sim Sin took her hand and said, Teacher Liang, it must be very difficult outside, right? If you want, I can ask Mr. Zhang Yi for help so you can stay with us. I really miss you. Hearing Sim Sin's suggestion, Liang Yu immediately turned her face away. Her eyes betrayed the sadness of carrying many burdens. She couldn't leave. If she did, it would be very hard for the other students to survive in such a harsh environment. Sim Sin stared at Liang Yu. Liang Yu was still as gentle as before, knowing that her martial arts skills were very beneficial to Mr. Zhang Yi's group. Sim Sin was determined not to give up and continued to persuade. However, Teacher Liang, these two things do not affect each other. You living in the shelter can still help them. After all, they've grown up. They shouldn't be unable to be apart from you even for a moment, right? On the contrary, if you really want them to be independent, then you have to let them learn how to survive in the apocalypse. Seeing Liang Yu deep in thought, Sim Sin asked further, Do you think what I said is correct? But in Liang Yu's mind, there was no certainty about Zhang Yi. She hesitated. But Zhang Yi won't agree to let me stay. Our relationship isn't very close. Liang Yu whispered softly in Sim Sin's ear. What if I go into the shelter myself, leaving Hao Cheng Yu and the others outside? Wouldn't that be inappropriate? Concerned for those students, Sim Sin responded, I will go find Zhang Yi's brother and ask for help on this matter. Sim Sin also reassured Liang Yu, As for the other students, ma'am, no matter where you are, their living conditions won't change. After all, they've grown up, they don't always need you by their side. Sim Sin added, If they stop you from entering the shelter, wouldn't that be too selfish? As Sim Sin spoke, she glanced at Liang Yu cautiously. Once Liang Yu officially entered the shelter, she wouldn't be able to leave. She was just responsible, not foolish. Hearing Sim Sin's reasonable points, Liang Yu began to hesitate. In fact, there were many times she felt extremely tired of her responsibilities toward those students. But with the heart of a teacher, Liang Yu could not abandon them. Seeing Liang Yu silent and not saying anything, Sim Sin guessed that she was hesitating. Sim Sin thought to herself, if I can convince Teacher Liang to come here, once she gets used to living in such a comfortable environment, she naturally won't want to go back outside to endure such harsh weather. Sim Sin also began to calculate in her mind. As long as she could persuade her, the other students out there would lose their protection. In that case, in the future, whenever there is a chance, she could deal with all of them. At this moment, Sim Sin glanced over at Zhang Yi. Indeed, two great thinkers met. Both were trying their best to find ways to persuade Liang Yu to join the group. After a moment of hesitation, Liang Yu stood up and said, I will think about it. If I'm pressured too much, it will backfire. Sim Sin smiled and said to Liang Yu, All right, Teacher Liang, when you have made your decision, remember to let Sim Sin know. Me and everyone else always welcome you to come here. Liang Yu happily nodded. Okay. Next, it would be the time for Liang Yu to teach martial arts to Zhang Yi. The young man urged her, Let's go. Before heading directly to the martial arts room, Zhang Yi intentionally took her on a tour around. The main purpose was for the young man to show Liang Yu how good the living conditions were at his place. After a while, they arrived at the gym on the third basement floor. Liang Yu was quite surprised to see such a well-equipped gym. Zhang Yi led Liang Yu inside. Suddenly, noticing her clothes were dirty, Zhang Yi opened a strange space and took out a set of clothes to give to her. As Zhang Yi walked away, he pointed toward the bathroom and said, There is a bathroom here, you should go take a shower first. Liang Yu felt shy and blushed. She hesitated to explain. I don't have the conditions to change into new clothes or take a hot shower outside. Zhang Yi raised his hand to explain. I can say anything, it's just you overthinking. Before the young man could finish his thought, Liang Yu hurriedly grabbed the clothes and ran off. After all, she was a single woman. The feeling of being thought of as untidy by the opposite sex would be very uncomfortable. A moment later, Liang Yu came back with a completely new appearance. The outfit accentuated her curves and her expression was much more confident than before. I'm ready. Of course, when Zhang Yi saw her, he was somewhat attracted, but he kept those feelings to himself. Let's get started. Liang Yu took a stance and reminded Zhang Yi, learning martial arts is tough. You need to be mentally prepared. In reality, Zhang Yi wasn't really interested in studying anything. He just wanted to create opportunities for Liang Yu to come to his house every day, making it easier to win her over. However, he also acted the part very well. Let's begin. 2.5 hours later, Zhang Yi could no longer stand. He sat down on the floor, panting heavily. After the first training session, Liang Yu also had an assessment of Zhang Yi. His foundation wasn't too bad, but mastering martial arts would be achieved in a short time. Mental preparation was needed. Zhang Yi wiped the sweat from his forehead as he said, I don't aspire to be a master. I just want to have some postures for self-defense. Liang Yu was taken aback when she heard Zhang Yi say this as she had seen him defeat others many times. She looked at Zhang Yi and asserted, even the Lang Feng group was completely wiped out by you. There's hardly anyone who can threaten your life. But Zhang Yi, being cautious by nature, believed that for a young man, learning everything is never enough. He frowned and said, this world is full of surprises and many unexpected things can happen. No one should take their life for granted. Zhang Yi opened the strange space, took out a supply bag and handed it to Liang Yu as planned, then reminded her, we'll continue tomorrow. I've had enough for today. Liang Yu took the supply bag and walked home with a lot of thoughts in her mind. Sing Sin's words kept echoing in her ears. Liang Yu thought to herself, if those words came from him, I would definitely worry that he had some scheme. But those were Sing Sin's words. What kind of ill intentions could someone like Sing Sin have? She always followed Zhang Yi's receding figure with the thought, can I really live in this place?